For the next few days only, The Athletic is just £24 for a whole year. See the link in the description to sign up now. Image rights contracts in football have come a long way since a legal battle in the year 2000 between HMRC, Britain's tax-collecting body, and a famous Premier League club and two of its stars. The issues at stake were deemed so sensitive, even controversial, that the club was known for years in all legal paperwork merely as Sports Club, while the two players were anonymised as Evelyn and Jocelyn. Evelyn and Jocelyn, or Dennis Bergkamp and David Platt, both joined Sports Club, or Arsenal, from Serie A clubs in the summer of 1995, moving to Highbury from Internazionale and Sampdoria respectively. Serie A's footballers were the highest paid in the world throughout the 1990s, and there were structures in place in Italy where they were rewarded not just with playing contracts for their on-field activities, but image rights deals, to pay them for commercial deals their clubs struck to monetize their popularity. If a club could earn X million lira from a sponsorship or partnership with a firm willing to pay because a star name would help them flog their product, the Italian system had the wherewithal to pay them separately for that and tax them differently. Thus, when Bergkamp and Platt arrived at Arsenal in the summer of 1995, they did so already owning image rights companies, or IRCs, into which their image rights income was processed. Their Arsenal income from their playing contracts was taxed at source in the normal way, at PAYE income tax rates, but their IRC money, they and Arsenal argued, should be subject to a different and lower corporation tax rate. HMRC didn't like this. It wasn't how things were done in Britain at the time, and there was a difference of opinion over tax bills, starting a dispute that led to a 3-year legal tussle. The case concluded in 2000, with special commissioners accepting that image rights income was legitimately separate from playing income, creating a legal precedent which remains to this day. But image rights controversies have continued to rage in the 2 decades since, in Britain and elsewhere. Some cases have ended in fines and even prison sentences. Other image rights issues have scuppered transfer deals and led to arguments over who can and can't be portrayed in computer games. The salient point from Sports Club versus HMRC was that the concept of image rights as legitimate in football was enshrined in British law from 2000 onwards. The commercialisation of football has risen exponentially since, with clubs using every opportunity to make the next buck. Aided and abetted by their influence as stars, so image rights have become ever more important. In 2000, the Premier League's clubs had combined annual commercial revenue of £180 million. By 2020, that was £1.8 billion. For much of the period between 2000 and 2015, HMRC was scrambling between football clubs trying to clamp down on exploitation of the principle of image rights. Tax inspectors working in this area say there were cases when large chunks of a player's pay were being paid to an IRC, saving the player income tax and his club's national insurance contributions. Clubs don't pay NICs on payments to IRCs. There were cases when it was risible to suggest a player's image rights were worth much at all. For example, a young reserve at a lower league club, but some clubs were trying. For the avoidance of doubt, image, in an image rights sense, means not just the exploitation of the player's name or nickname, or fame or photograph or likeness, but anything associated with them. This could range from their signature and voice to any virtual or electronic portrayal, to their reputation as a grafter or joker or hard man or whatever, or indeed any other characteristic from their shirt number to their goal celebration. If a commercial entity can sell something by making a link between a footballer and an object or product, then the player's image rights have real-world value. And when a player has an IRC, the natural and necessary step when they transfer from one club to another is for their new club to negotiate a deal with the player's IRC for those image rights, as well as the player themselves for their footballing abilities. It's common practice now for an image rights deal to be agreed first and then a playing contract. There are feasibly tougher negotiations to be had between a potential signing and a new club over image rights and what endorsements the player must forego so as not to compete with an existing club sponsor than how many hundreds of thousands of pounds per week they want to be paid. In the summer of 2019, Tottenham appeared to be on the verge of signing Argentinian forward Paulo Dybala from Juventus. But Dybala had sold his image rights to a third-party marketing company, Star Image, based in Malta, who had allowed his image to be used highly lucratively to promote brands from Samsung to Gatorade to Monster and Adidas, among others. Star Image reportedly wanted £14 million from Spurs for the player's image rights. And when such rights are typically worth low single-digit millions per year, it was a deal-breaker for Tottenham. In 2016, image rights issues delayed the appointment of Jose Mourinho as the manager of Manchester United. Chelsea, where Mourinho had last worked up to December 2015, still owned the intellectual property of Mourinho's name and signature, having registered both as European trademarks in 2005, meaning that they could use both to sell all kinds of merchandise from aftershave to jewellery. And by the time of Mourinho's rights hiccup and well before Dybala's non-move to Spurs, HMRC had, in 2015, finally come to a kind of rapprochement with Premier League clubs over madcap attempts to use image rights to dodge tax. A two-cap protocol was agreed, involving a club cap that said a maximum figure any club could pay in image rights, and a player cap that said a maximum figure any player could earn in image rights. The club cap was set at 15% of all commercial income, so if a club had £100 million from all sponsors and partnerships combined, their players could collectively earn £15 million a year in image rights. If it was $200 million, then $30 million, and so on. The player cap stipulated that a maximum of 20% of the player's earnings from the club could be paid in image rights. So if a player was going to earn £5 million a year overall from the club, a maximum of £1 million would be in image rights. The main issue for HMRC is the differing rates of tax paid on playing contracts via PAYE player earnings, where the top tax rate is 45%, and the rate paid on IRC income, which is corporation tax, of 19%. The HMRC protocol always allowed for exceptions to the rule, but it was abolished in 2017 when new guidance along similar but different lines was issued by HMRC. These in turn have resulted in a new uptick in HMRC investigations into image rights deals, and by the summer of 2020, HMRC investigations into footballers had nearly trebled to 246 from 87 a year before. But Britain is far from alone in trying to deal with these issues, with Spain's tax authorities notably involved in high-profile action in the summer of 2016. Lionel Messi was given a 21-month prison sentence for tax fraud after a judgment that he had evaded more than €4 million in tax on image rights. In 2018, Alexis Sanchez, then a Manchester United player, accepted a prison sentence for similar tax fraud. Neither player actually served any jail time. Messi and Sanchez's fellow superstars, Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Gareth Bale, both got involved in their own image rights controversy in November of 2020, although they were claiming to be wronged rather than wrongdoers. Ibrahimovic tweeted, "Who gave FIFA EA Sport permission to use my name and face?" This was a reference to the fact that his name and image appear in the world's most popular football computer game, FIFA from EA Sports. He copied the global football union FIFPro into this, saying that he never gave permission to either FIFA, football's world governing body, or FIFPro to use his image. "Somebody is making a profit on my name and face without any agreement all these years," he added. "Time to investigate." Other players, including Bale, then back at Tottenham on loan, responded with support, including the hashtag #TimeToInvestigate. In fact, EA Sports had acquired the rights to use 17,000 players' names and images via a range of contracts with FIFPro, and individual clubs, including Ibrahimovic's Milan, and leagues, including the Premier League, where Bale was playing for Tottenham. But in a dispute not settled even by late 2021, debates continue over whether clubs and leagues do in fact have the right to sell on individual player image rights to third parties. Don't expect complete clarity before any transfer window of the near future, where contract negotiations will be underway that are much more complex than how much a player will be paid for kicking a ball. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel.
I heard he stays for an hour after a game to practice free kicks.
So? I've never left this flipping pitch.
Be the football fan in the know. The Athletic.